We are live. Don't see anybody here yet. 4 seconds. But
Where's your
that's what we are.
intro? I was waiting for your
Yeah.
intro.
Yeah, well, I didn't play it this time. The last time I didn't either. For some reason, I don't know why. It just seemed to go a little bit better. But we're live at 18, 20 seconds. Hey, we got one viewer. Hello. But you know, how is the air quality down there in Bangkok?
It's poor. It's like I don't measure it, or I just look out the way. I could see a blue sky, then I'm happy. It's
Yeah.
it's something I've grown used to this time of year. I moved to Bangkok from Ho Chi Minh City. I lived in Ho Chi Minh City for a year. Now there were a number of reasons that I made that decision. It wasn't just the air quality, but the air quality in Bangkok was better, significantly better than that of Ho Chi Minh City during
Mm-hmm.
this time of year. So there are worse places.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here, it's running between 150 and 200 daily, and we had that we had that rain, and that that worked for about 3 days. It kept everything going, and but once the air settled back down, then we got the bad air in again today. So it just works. Hey, Wizard, how you doing? And that's what we'll be dealing with until the rainy season gets here, I guess. I just part of living in Chiang Mai.
When I got to Singapore, it was 12 years ago. I get those little memories that pop up on Facebook now, and they're from 12 years ago that I first landed in Asia, in Singapore to be precise. And
Mm-hmm.
Singapore, for those of you who may not have visited, is a very modern city, and they're very focused on ecological issues. There's a lot of green spaces there. They had to invent ways to procure their own drinking water because they were reliant on Malaysia for their water supply. So over the years, they've developed ways of desalinating seawater and catchment systems and all kinds of very advanced ecological stuff to provide a city of 4 million people with drinking adequate and a lot of tourists with adequate drinking water. And they've accomplished that, and other
Mm-hmm.
pretty impressive, uh, you know, uh, ec- ecological management kind of things. They've done a good job with that. It's a beautiful, clean city. But this time of year, the city becomes shrouded in smoke from nearby Indonesia, Java to be precise.
Mm-hmm.
And Java grows a lot of palm oil. And apparently, when they burn the crop stubble from palm oil plants, it's particularly caustic.
Mm.
I'm told that it's worse than the rice stubble that they burn here and
Hmm.
other crops. And it covers Singapore in smoke. And it's nasty. I mean, it's like it's worse than here. And when I first encountered that, I was like, wow, this is awful. And I'm reading, newspapers and news stories about all the outrage, about how they're talking with the Indonesian government and getting the UN involved and suing the big corporations that own the farms that do this and stuff like that, and on and on and on. I was talking to a Singaporean person about it. I says, well, at
Mm-hmm.
least there's this public outrage. It looks like they're doing something. And he laughed. He says, yeah, they do that every year. He says, there's these big outrage headlines for about 3 weeks, and then nothing ever happens. And I was like, really? And, for the past 12 years, that guy's been right. They have outrage headlines every year when the city is covered in smoke, and then nobody does anything about it. And it's a huge issue. And like it's not just here, it's from the west coast of India to the eastern end of Indonesia, which is about 3 billion people, or maybe more, that just set shit on fire
Hmm.
for, for a few months every year.
Oh God. Well, they haven't been burning around here. I rode through the rice fields yesterday, and they've mowed them all down, but they haven't started uh, burning them yet. So, you know they may, but I kind of seriously doubt that they will. because it seems like there's so much pressure now from this new governor that we got here, to stop the burning, that I don't think they'll fire up the rice fields this year. But
Nah, they will.
you think so?
Yeah, they got to. I mean, how are they going to turn their crops?
Yeah. Well, some of the ones that I've seen, they'll bring that tiller out and they'll till
Yeah,
it.
tiller.
They'll flood it and they'll till it. But
But
um,
that's a community thing. From what I understand, because my wife's father owns a bunch of rice fields, is it's like a co-op thing. It's like all the rice farmers in the area chip in to get that tiller guy to come out and
hmm
do their land. But I mean, if he's not available, they just burn it.
yeah. I don't know. Wait and see what happens. But once they burn it, I mean it, the wind, depending on which way the wind's blowing, you're going to
Mm,
get nailed.
mm.
And you've got a lot of rice fields around where you're living, don't you? Pretty
Who,
much.
me?
Yeah. Don't you have them on the
Yeah, they're
other
kind of
side?
small though. They're more like family plots of land that are rice
Yeah.
fields. Not real big.
Hmm.
But when my wife, she lives, well, she's from Prey, which is
Yeah.
about 3 hours away, and you have to go through the mountains to get there. And what's odd is you'll be driving along the superhighway there, and you'll just see fires out in the forest right
hmm
alongside the interstate, and nobody's putting them out. No fire department there, nothing. They're just burning.
Well, that's where the smoke is coming from now. I don't know. I know they had a lot of fires in Hot that were, was kind of, the smoke was coming up here from there, but I haven't seen any. Usually I can look off in the mountains at night and you
Yeah,
can see them off in the mountains, and
yeah.
we haven't seen that. So
Mm.
who knows what's going to happen. Hopefully we'll get some rain and this crap will go through, but who
Mm.
knows? But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. And I was up. Let me see. Went up to the city I think it was the day before yesterday when I made a video. There are a lot of I'm seeing a lot of foreigners up there, and the funny thing is I'm seeing a lot more foreigners down here in my area, Hang Dong, that I've never seen before. Um, so there are people coming, and they're getting out in the communities a little bit more than what they normally do. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. What are you seeing down there, Charlie? Are you seeing a lot of visitors and
Yeah, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think there's been a noticeable uptick in the presence of tourists around Bangkok. There's a lot of people can't, it's difficult getting taxis again. There's long waits for Grab, things like that.
yeah?
All
Mm.
this, it's like I hate to say that, that I was happy with some of the conditions during the lockdown periods, but it was nice when you get a Grab cab and they'd show up in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Those days we're back to normal now. There's
Mm.
there pressure on the systems from a lot of tourists, and it seems to have increased noticeably over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Give you last night
Hmm.
as an example. My girlfriend's older daughter Ying graduated from high school yesterday and made a big deal out of it,
hmm
and a bunch of us were preparing to go over to Tong Lor. Now, Tong Lor is not too far from where I live. That's an avenue or a boulevard that is kind of upscale. There's a lot of fancy shops and hotels and a couple of Michelin-rated restaurants. It's a higher end uh, uh, part of Bangkok. Not super high end, but nice. Yes, really nice. A little bit expensive kind of shops and restaurants and other merchants, that kind of thing. And they cater to the Japanese and Western tourists, that region. So
hmm
Ying and her friends, her girlfriends and her sisters wanted to go to this particular restaurant that's not too far from us, and it's a Thai restaurant, but it's a fancy Thai restaurant. And Bullcow, my girlfriend, went over there first. We couldn't all fit in the car, so she took a motorbike over there, and she figured she would get a table for us because I think there were, it was like 13 of us coming. And she called and came back. She goes, the waiting line was too long, and she came back. She said the people waiting outside for tables were foreigners, Japanese and Western foreigners. So yeah, the foreigners are back. We wound up going in another direction into a very Thai area of town where we had a typical Thai restaurant, the kind where that you're used to if you've been living here for a while. It's open air, and there's a guy singing with his guitar and his music machine up in the corner, and they're pouring you drinks every time you're empty. They fill your cup up, that kind of thing, and a lot of unidentifiable Thai food, which I preferred rather than the fancy place. I kind of like those places, but there weren't any tourists over there except me. So,
oh gosh, what I think, and still, I've said this all along that I think it'll be 5 to 10 years before we ever see things the way they were before COVID up here, and even in Bangkok. I think it'll be a while. Good morning from British Columbia. Hey, how you doing? Let's see what else we got. There's something previously enjoyable about lockdown in Chiang Mai. It was quiet and enjoyable. Yeah, I agree with you there. When I went up yesterday, or yesterday or the day, I think it was the day before, but there were so many people on motorbikes, tourists on motorbikes, bicycles, pedestrians and stuff. It was a challenge to drive. They're just it wasn't like before. You can go in and just whip around and go wherever you want to go. It was a challenge to get around inside the city, and I don't know. We just have to wait and see how bad it gets. I don't know. Now you don't, Charlie, down there in Bangkok, you don't see that much of them on the roads like we do up here. I don't think. I mean, they don't come down. Tourists don't come to Bangkok and rent motorcycles and cars and things like that.
Actually, there's a guy right on my little street here. I'm on a dead end lane off Ekamai Road, and one of the houses, the same kind of house that I live in, is occupied by a foreigner who rents motorbikes. And,
oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, he also has an Airbnb in the building, and so I see tourists coming up and down this little street all the time. They're usually Asian tourists, so I don't see a lot of Western tourists here. If you go to the Sukhumvit area, which is the tourist magnet, amongst many. I mean, I guess if I had to describe Bangkok, I would say it had 3 central downtown type of areas. It has the financial district, the Sukhumvit area, and old Bangkok, which is over where the palace and all the museums and fancy Wats are. So they have those 3 distinct areas that attract tourists. And if you go there's plenty of tourists. There are lots of tourists. And they rent motorbikes, and they're very distinct. The MRT, the rail system. And I love when the backpackers get on and make absolutely zero effort to be polite about this big hunk of luggage that they have strapped to their back. They just walk in and don't make any adjustments whatsoever.
Yeah.
And, it's like it's no wonder people call them names.
Yeah. That's funny. Here's a question: which neighborhood in Thailand did you have the first positive connection? For me, it was here. It was here in Hang Dong. When we first moved here, it's kind of a feeling out type of thing. You feel out the area, but Hang Dong in this area that we live in here, fits me like a glove. We moved out of it for a while, and I was so uncomfortable. We came back, and I enjoy it. But Spencer, what about you? What's your situation as far as that?
Probably the same here. My wife is good for. There's only 3 houses on my street, and my wife has become really good friends with the lady at the end. So they're always doing things together and chatting and drinking coffee and stuff. So I don't know. It's just people that you live around, and friendly,
Yeah.
always waving and saying hi to everybody, and you know.
It's I was going to ask Charlie, but he's just got up for some reason.
I need to turn the aircon off. I'm freezing.
Oh, okay. What about you? Where was your first positive connection in Thailand, Charlie?
Well, I came here on basically an invitation of a friend of mine, a guy that I knew from Singapore, who was renting out Airbnb places, and I was in trying to remember the name of the neighborhood. It's I can't recall it, but it's near Fortune Town. For those of you who might be a little familiar with Bangkok, Fortune Town is this big electronics mall, and it's across the street from the Central Mall. And that's the area this apartment complex was in that I first lived in, and it was a very well-run complex called Lumpini Place. And Lumpini owns several large condo complexes around the city. And that was my first home here in Bangkok, and I loved it. It cost, 14,000 baht a month. How much is that? Not very much money, right? And they called it a one bedroom. It was basically what we would have called in New York a studio alcove. It was a large studio with a partition put up for the bedroom part. Mm-hmm. But the complex itself had a gym and a pool, stores on the lower level, a 7-Eleven and a dry cleaner and a little restaurant that were all right within the complex. And I was walking distance to that larger complex that I just described, the Fortune Town complex, where I could get an MRT. And I loved it. I mean, it was a very inexpensive place to live, very comfortable. They had a concierge that would get you a taxi.
I was spoiled.
Like luxury living, for $400 a month. It was crazy, So I was like, yeah, I think I like it here. And I wound up keeping my place in Vietnam while I had that apartment because Eric, my friend who invited me here, managed Airbnb places, and he used to rent my place in Lumpini to Airbnb people when I wasn't there. And so I actually made a profit on it a couple of months. So I was like, I kind of like it here. I wound up moving to a bigger place after a while. I forget how long I was there, but and now I have a 4-bedroom, 4-story townhouse. I guess I get accumulating stuff and people. I have a whole entourage.
You've got a crowd coming. Now, you're not back doing yoga again, are you? Out of your place?
Yes, I am.
You are teaching yoga again?
Well, I'm not opening it up. I'm not opening the studio to the public. I don't want to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. It's too much like work. but I am reopening the studio space because I practice frequently, usually every other day, with Buakao, with my girlfriend. She practices with me occasionally. She's been kind of kikiet lately. You know what that means? Lazy. And she's been a little, but I just had a friend come over, an old student. 2 old students passed through here in the last 2 weeks and practice with me. And I want to expand it again. I'm going to expand the studio in a way where I can accommodate up to 8 to 10 people, but it's going to be by invitation only and only for experienced practitioners. I don't want to lead the classes anymore. I practice myself to a recording of me leading a class. And so when you're practicing, I can give little helpful pointers to people, but it's I'm practicing, I'm focused on my own exercise and my own practice. And so I don't want to take in newcomers. You can't do that if you have somebody that's never done the practice before. You have to pay a little more attention to them. And I don't want to run a business, but I definitely am doing yoga a lot. I feel pretty good, actually. It's interesting thing about it is, I closed the studio in March of 2020. And within 18 months, I had put on 20 pounds because I wasn't exercising regularly. And it's not unusual. That happens to millions of people around the world. I used to call it the lockdown malaise. It was a depressing time. You stayed in, watched TV, ate too much, didn't exercise enough. And like all of us, many of us did it. so I was like, I need to stop this. That's not a good strategy when you're 70. It's like, no, I need to get back to exercising regularly. And I couldn't. I kept getting back spasms. Whenever I would start to move my exercise along, make 3-4 days of practice, boom, I get hurt again, and I have to rest until the spasm went away, which sometimes took a week, 5-6 days, and that's not a good exercise program. I couldn't get rid of the weight, and when I was younger, that's the way I managed my weight. If I started to put on weight, I would exercise more, and the weight would go away. Well, I wasn't able to do that, so the weight wasn't going away. Well, this last trip, this is a story of how there's a silver lining to every cloud. On this last trip that I took, the 2-month trip where I traveled around the world, and I got gout on part of my trip, and I had to spend 4 days in a hotel until the gout went away. It was a serious outbreak, and I could barely walk. So I was stuck in a hotel ordering room service, and when I have the cure for gout for me is to eat vegetarian. So I had a limited menu. I couldn't go out and snack. I couldn't. Make a long story short, I lost 15 pounds over the course of about 6 weeks because I had changed my diet. So when I got back here to Bangkok, the back spasm was gone because I guess of the weight. I can't imagine I lost 15 pounds. My back spasm went away. So I've been practicing since I got back 2 months ago. I've been practicing every other day, and I feel fabulous. I got to tell you, it's like I'm 73. I feel, I keep telling people I'm dyslexic. I'm actually 37. But yeah, practicing a lot, and if anybody's watching and you're in Bangkok, if you know Bikram yoga and you've practiced it, just DM me. I'll be glad to invite you in for a class, but it's not a professional thing. I don't, it's just, my own personal studio.
Next question. Why did each of you leave your home country and decide to settle in Thailand? Well, for me, it was basically because my wife is from Thailand. And the first time I came here, not only did I fall in love with her, I fell in love with the country too. And it was just something that I felt real comfortable. I felt comfortable living here. And knew I could retire here and live a better life here than I could in the United States. So that's pretty much why I'm here and why I'm still here. Spencer, what's your story that way?
Yeah, I was actually working in China for 5 years doing quality control over there for clothing, and I would take vacations to Thailand to escape all the things in China. And when I had gotten finally tired of China, Thailand was my first choice. So I just came here and settled down in Chiang Mai.
What about you, Charlie?
You've got
a good story. Yeah, you got a good story. You went a bunch of places.
Yeah, I went to Singapore on a work contract to teach yoga at a high-end yoga spa, and I had a yoga business in the United States that I sold in 2010, and I was in this network of yoga studios, a global network called Bikram Yoga, and this woman who I had met at a couple of gatherings, Diane Lee, had just opened this expensive place. She invited me to go teach. And so I agreed to a 4-month work contract, and here it is 12 years later, I'm still in Asia. I guess I just like the place, it's like, and I had, I wasn't one of these people, I want to leave the United States. I love the United States. I could live there just as easily as I could live here. There's plenty of things I like about the States. There's just, like Bill said, in retirement, you get more for your money here. What I couldn't do in the United States is rent and live in a 4-story townhouse in the center of town. I can afford to do that here because it's just, it's $1,200 a little over $1,000 a month for rent here. Whereas in New York, my hometown, that would, you couldn't get a studio apartment for that.
Yeah, you could. There's no way you could rent what you're renting now in New York City for even close to what you're paying here.
Oh no, it's millionaires live in places like that.
Crazy, absolutely crazy. I don't see, there's a couple of YouTubers on there that walk around and ask people, where do you live and all that. I don't know if you've seen them or not. And they end up, or what do you pay for rent? And then they'll tell them, and it's some astronomical amount, and then he'll ask her. I'm sure it's all staged, but they'll go up and look at their apartment. And, it's some kind of crazy place, but some of the rents that they're paying, even not only in New York City, but places like Los Angeles and Boston, unbelievable what they're paying for rent. I was looking on Facebook yesterday, and there was a townhouse for rent in my old city where you used to be able to rent for $500 or $600 a month, and it was $1,200 a month for a 2-bedroom townhouse. I thought, good Lord, it's crazy.
That's not a bad deal.
No, that's not. But just the rents are just unbelievable. Here's another one.
And the women too. Like when old guys talk about living in Asia and retiring in Asia, and it's the food is great and the beaches and the scuba diving and this and that and all the other, and they never mention the women. I think they're being disingenuous. I was 60 years old when I landed in Singapore. I had been living alone for nearly a year. My last relationship had ended, and I was single, and I was comfortable with that. I was 60. I'm happy with. I keep myself busy. I don't need to be in a relationship, and I just figured that part of my life was coming. The romantic kind of love stuff was coming to an end. I was 60. I'd had a good run, and I was fine with that. I was accepting of it. Then I got to Asia, and I have these 25-year-olds chasing me down the goddamn street, for Christ's sake. And I was like, what is going on here? And the answer to that question would be a very long answer, and I don't want to take up the whole time. But the truth of the matter is if you are a man of means here in Asia, a Western man of means in many countries here in Asia, there are women that are going to be interested in you. And some of them are really nice, caring women with traditional values that'll take good care of you. And it's like, that's a big part of why us old fuckers come here. And like I said, I think it's a little disingenuous when guys like me talk about why they come here and don't mention that. So there.
There you go.
There you go. Spill the beans right there.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, it said, did you wish you retired early in Thailand? Any tips for retiring early, taking out Social Security early, or just living here? Your payments come in. I retired at 55, and I don't regret it. I took a little bit of a hit. I could have, if I'd have stayed longer, I would have got a little bit more money. But for me, it wasn't worth it. I bailed out as quick as I could, and I'd recommend that to anybody, especially in a situation you never know how long you're going to be here. The minute you can pull the plug, I'd advise pulling the plug and getting out. Charlie, I think you retired twice, didn't you?
Well, it's like a defined retirement. I mean, I technically retired from the fire department in 2002 when I was 52 years old. So I technically quit, but I kept working. I didn't stop working until COVID. I had to shut my yoga studio down. So I've been retired for years if retired means not working. But as for to answer the guy's question, I think it's, I don't like to give advice because I'm not, it's not, I'm not a financial expert. But I do know enough about the Social Security system that, cashing in at 62 years of age is going to get you a minimum payment. And, it's difficult to live on that, even here in Thailand or the Philippines or other places where it's cheaper to live. And it's not getting any easier with inflation. Now, inflation isn't as bad here as it is in the West, but it's still here. It's still, food prices are going up. And so I would recommend, unless, there are some extenuating circumstances that would force you into that retiring at 62. One of the things I'm doing with my channel, I just put up a video saying how I'm changing things on my channel, on my YouTube channel. And for the the horizontal videos, not the shorts. But I'm going to make shorter videos, and what I'm going to start talking about are things that have worked for me. I've had two people, an old yoga student, actually three people, two old yoga students who have passed through my studio here in the last few weeks, and I had dinner with both of them, and a Twitter guy. All three of these men who are successful men in their 40s. One of them extremely successful. He is retiring at 45, but he's a millionaire. He was an engineer and an entrepreneur, and he's done very well, and he wants to retire. He also has income property back in the United States to support him. So he is making plans to retire here. And he came to dinner one night, and I have all these people, the kids, the teenagers running up and down the stairs. And Buakaw had a couple of his sisters over, and they're all the women are cooking in the kitchen. And he and I are sitting at my table eating this food that they're preparing for us. And he says to me, he goes, "I really envy you." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You have so much more. This is a very successful man, remember." And he goes, "I focused on work." He goes, and he's 45 years old. And he says, "And you have this wonderful family surrounding you." And not only that, he's aware of my family back in the States. I have 2 grown girls who are married with 2 children each, 4 grandchildren, and I have a wonderful relationship with all of them too. And I realized that, just to make this a shorter story than it needs to be, all 3 of these men were mentioning that to me. These are reasonably successful men who have done well in their life, who are single without families, and they're envying me and what I have because I'm surrounded by people. And what I saw in those comments is that, I've been successful in my life. Now, I'm not wealthy, but I've done okay, and I'm really comfortable now. And I've done pretty well. And I'm going to start talking about that a little bit more on my channel, because there are a lot of people asking questions like this. Now, I'm not going to give advice. I'm just going to say what I did. And I waited till 65 to collect Social Security. Now, it was easy for me because I had a fire department pension as well. But nonetheless, I made sure I also have investment income and dividend income. And all of this was stuff that I put in place in my 30s and my 40s, preparing myself to retire. So, that's where you have to start laying the groundwork to be a comfortable, happy old guy. Yeah. To retire at 62 on minimum Social Security, I don't think you're going to be. I wouldn't be happy. I see guys doing that in the Philippines. I don't think they're happy at all. They pretend to be, but it's
they get YouTube channels to supplement their income.
Hey, there are 3 guys there that have done that, and good for them. Good for them. One of them, that old guy, old dog Paul, put up a video yesterday. He had an official at the U.S. Embassy contact him and sat with him for 3 hours talking about services that are available to retirees in the Philippines. And he wanted Paul to get that message out for him. And I thought, I got to give old dog a little credit there. I mean, here's a guy who retired on minimum Social Security. He barely had a pot to piss in when he landed. And I'm not telling stories out of school. He talks about this all the time. And he landed in the Philippines with not very much, and I think maybe $1,200 or $1,300 a month in income, which is, I don't know how they live on that. Well, now he's more than double that, easily more than double that with his YouTube channel. And what does he have? He has a crappy camera, a rubber duck, and he's charming. Good for him.
Yeah.
I think he has an official from the embassy reaching out to him and showing up with a security detail to have lunch with old dog New Tricks. God bless him. That's clout, man. And
we'd never get that here in Thailand.
But guess what? If you're watching this video thinking I'm going to do that, no, you're not. He was in the right place. He was in the right place at the right time, and it's going to be very difficult to duplicate that.
Yeah, I guarantee. That's funny. Now, what about you, Spencer? Tell us about your retirement. How you retired?
I'm probably the youngest of all. I retired at 40 years old.
Man.
When you're in the U.S. Air Force or the military in general, you just got to do 20 years. That's the minimum. And I did almost 21 when I retired. I was 40.
Yeah.
I was divorced. I had nowhere to go, nothing to do, and I was looking for excitement. So like I said, I went to China for 5 years and I worked over there and came to Thailand, and I don't draw Social Security yet. I'm only 58 right now, so I've got a ways to go. I probably, like Charlie, will do it at 65 because I get a pension and I get VA disability, so I'm not hurting at all for money over here. And then the pension life here is quite good, so I don't see a problem with that. I guess my advice would be is like Charlie said, if you have a pension and you're drawing Social Security, then it's okay to live over here. But if you're only getting Social Security and that's it, probably not a good idea.
Yeah. It'd be hard to live just on Social Security here.
It would. It would.
Without a doubt.
And you see these videos all the time about, I think they're a little bit misleading, you know, like these guys that say, oh, I live on $1,000 a month or whatever. You see all those videos about Thailand all the time, and you're like, no, you don't. You know, you're
Yeah.
bullshitting people with that, really.
Well, the thing about it is possible, okay? But the life that you're going to lead
Right.
is not, you know, I mean,
Yeah, your quality of life is going to be
it's
bad.
terrible, you know, and I mean, you know, a single guy here, you know, if he wanted to live on $500 a month, you know,
Oh,
and eat rice and live in
a room with a fan.
yeah, a fan or a bunk bed or something like that, yeah, you could do it, but it's just
Yeah.
not. It's not. It's to me that's just not living. That's kind of
And that, you know, those videos do attract a lot of people over here.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and then they're misled when they get over here and they have, like I saw a post from a guy the other day. He was asking, where's a cheap place to get street food? And I'm thinking to myself, damn, all street food is cheap.
Yeah, yeah. Here's another question. I'm 67 and wondering how much I should expect to pay for adequate private health insurance and what level of coverage would that give me? You know, it's kind of hard to say. It depends. It depends on what company you go with. It depends on what kind of coverage you're looking for. I'm going to venture to say you're going to end up spending anywhere from between $200 a month to $400 a month, just depending on what kind of coverage you want and what company you go with, and you know what you're actually looking for. There's all different kinds of ranges, and the prices are everywhere. So you know, it's kind of a hard answer to a question to answer, and you know, you just have to get out and see what's out there. Is there a particular?
Actually, I'm about to pull the trigger on a health policy here.
Hmm.
I've just been self-insured, but I got from that broker that you recommended, Bill.
Hmm.
I'm going to get a $10,000 a year, you know, maximum $10,000 a year in medical coverage for in-hospital inpatient
Hmm.
stuff for just over $200 a month, which at
Hmm.
73 I think is not a bad deal.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
bad.
And I still have my Medicare and my Medicare B and, you know, other stuff available in the States. And I always, you know, and I have a reserve fund. Like when I got sick in Los Angeles, when I got the gout in Los Angeles, you know, in order to deal with that, I had to stay I was at the Hilton Hotel by LAX, which is, you know, about $160 a night, plus ordering room service, food on room service. I spent about $1,000 because of that gout outbreak. But
Yeah.
I have a, you know, again, you know, the planning. I keep a savings account, an emergency savings account for medical emergencies, and that's what that was. It was a medical emergency, so I didn't let it bother me. I had it set aside for that. But you know, so my plan was if I had anything serious happen, I just needed to get myself stabilized, and then I could fly. I could fly to Hawaii. I have family in Hawaii where I could use my Medicare.
Hmm.
You know, that was my plan. But I think it's better now, given that this is a reasonable amount of money. So to answer your question, you know, the lowest you're going to get is about $200 a month. Like Bill said,
Yeah.
you could get more, more coverage for outpatient, or maybe a $20,000, you know, depending on what you want personally, and that would cost you more money.
Is there a particular place, town, park where you feel most at peace in Thailand? Yeah, I'd have to say right here in Hang Dong. That's where I feel you know, the most comfortable anyway. I mean, to me, this city fits me like a glove. You know, what do you guys, where, you know, you Charlie, where's your peaceful place in Thailand?
This I'm going to read a little bit into the question. I think there's this notion of, you know, of a serene environment that helps produce, you know, personal serenity, and that's not my experience of Asia. Asia is noisy and smoky. We talked about that at the beginning of you know, there are environmental issues, there are motorbikes and traffic. The saving grace of Bangkok is they're not horn beepers.
Yeah.
Like they are in Vietnam, beep 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 all the time. You know, so that, you know, So it's a noisy and can be a chaotic place, and not just Bangkok. I mean, all over Thailand, even in some rural places, you get these kinds of stress-producing environmental effects, and they don't bother me here, and it's at all. I'm serene where I can be. I have serenity available to me wherever I go here, because it's an attitude that I've adopted. You know, it's a sabai sabai,
Yeah.
just a live and let live kind of attitude that is particularly present here in Thailand. I mean, it's present in other places in Asia too, but it's very powerful here. People are polite, they're nice, they have
Different world.
they have a cultural imperative to not embarrass you or challenge you or be aggressive. Now, they're capable of that stuff if you push people. They're people
Yeah.
and they have emotions. But the cultural norm is to acquiesce to other people and solve problems amicably and just be, respectful of one another. And having lived in this culture now for over 6 years, it's become a part of my way of being that is comfortable and serene. Are there, like I went to the park to shoot a video. There's a couple of parks here in Bangkok, and Benjasiri Park, and I went over there, and there was a construction project going up next to the park. It was noisier than it was outside the park. So it's like, if you're looking for a peaceful place to sit and lotus, and you know where you can go to do that, go to the United States. There's some wide open country. I was in Wyoming where I drove at 75 miles an hour for over an hour, and the only thing I saw were elk, or I don't know, some kind of elkish animal.
Yeah, it was elk.
That's funny. Let's see. Thanks for sharing your entire wisdom, and thank you. You're welcome. Here's another one. I pay. Yeah, you get travel insurance, so you pay probably 50 a week insurance when you're in Thailand. Yeah, that's about right. And traveling, I recommend anybody that's coming over here traveling get some good travel insurance, because if you have an accident, or a motorcycle accident, or get run over or hit, you need to have a good travel insurance to cover you. And you need to read the policy real good to make sure that it covers whatever it is that you're doing while you're here.
A lot of them exclude motorcycles. Be aware of that.
They do. They exclude motorcycles, and they also exclude if you're under the influence of alcohol. And that's something a lot of people don't read, and they come over here and they get tanked up and do something stupid, and the insurance company says, hey, you're under the influence of alcohol. We're not going to cover you.
And go with a bigger company too, because a lot of hospitals won't accept some insurances from small companies that are outside Thailand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you really have to be careful. I've seen a lot of GoFundMe pages up for people who have come here and ended up getting messed up.
Motorcycle accident or whatever.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
I was the other day, when I did my video, I mentioned a motorcycle training class that they give up here, and I would recommend that anybody that's going to come up here and plans on spending a little bit of time here and riding a motorcycle is definitely take that course, because driving a motorcycle here is a lot different than anything you're going to experience anywhere. And they, from what I understand, they teach you fairly well how to do it safely. And it says anyone that travels to Thailand should not be granted entrance to the kingdom.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't know what that means. Anyone travels to Thailand should not be granted entrance to the kingdom.
I think what they're maybe they're trying to say, if you don't have insurance.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's very true. Being longtime residents, it's easy for you to pick on the expats who are up to no good, as in the person is a clown. I don't know what he means by that one either. Oh well. In long-time rent, it's easy for you to pick on, to
Yeah.
no good, as in the first, well, whatever. They don't cover you if you don't have a motorcycle. Yeah, that's true. If you don't have a motorcycle license, they won't cover you. So that's another thing that you need to be aware of. And I think if you don't have a motorcycle license, you can't get an international permit that will give you a motorcycle license. I don't know.
Hey, here's my
Yeah,
advice on
yeah.
motorcycles. I have this friend that I admire who's like a real kick-ass biker all his life, and his name is Bill Burke. He's sitting right here in the blue room there. And this guy has driven Harleys, over the bridges in New York City, which anybody who's done that knows that ain't an easy thing to do. And gone on motorcycle tours with his police friends and that type of stuff. So he's a badass biker guy. This Bill. So I was thinking
Not
when I went
anymore.
to when I was in the Philippines 2 months ago. I was originally planning on staying a month. I wound up staying 8 days. But I was like, maybe I'll rent a motorbike. Now, I had a Sportster when I was 19. That was like a really, really, really long time ago. And I only had it for a few months before I wrecked it. So that's the sum total of my my motorcycle experience up until now. And I asked my motorcycle expert friend, Billy Burt, should I rent a motorbike in the Philippines? And he gave me a one-word answer: no.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no discussion. He's like, don't do it.
Oh,
Hire a guy to take you around. And that's exactly what I did. I took the trikes wherever I went.
yeah. That's
So,
funny.
it might be good advice to think about that if you're coming here and you don't have good cycling, motorbike
Yeah,
experience.
Mhm.
There's a lot of other
Don't
ways to get around.
Don't yeah,
You rent a
don't
car for not
don't
too
learn
much money.
here. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Says, how long did it take you to get acclimated and feel like this is home in Thailand? For me, I'd say it was probably a couple of years. After a couple of years, I was pretty well acclimated to everything here. Felt real comfortable. I just and every year it gets a little bit better. What about you guys? How long was it for y'all?
Mm, a few years, probably when I met my wife, who was
Yeah.
my girlfriend back then, because she helped me like get ingrained with Thai society. Meeting her parents, meeting the people in the village, eating their foods, talking to them. That really kind of sealed the deal for me there. Had I been by myself the whole time, maybe it would have taken a lot longer.
Yeah. What about
It's,
you, Charlie?
I don't fit in. I don't try to fit in. I'm polite. I'm grateful to be here, and I recognize this is a culture that I'll never completely understand. Um, and not to sound arrogant, but I kind of like, it's up to them to try to understand me as well. I have a culture that I grew up in, and I'm not seeking to relinquish that cultural
Mm-hmm.
software. Not that I could, even if I wanted to. I'm not seeking to assimilate into Thai culture. I'm an outsider, and I'm comfortable with that status.
Yeah.
Do I understand the culture better? Of course. I live in it. I know a little bit of the language. I've read quite a lot about it, and I've lived both here in the city, and I've been up in the country a number of times with my
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend's family, who are all farmers, and the just treat each other with mutual respect. And I kind of like observing. I'm like an observer of the culture rather than a participant in it. And, that works very well for me. And it's portable. I can go to the Philippines and do the same thing, or Vietnam and do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not seeking their approval, and I'm not asking them to seek mine.
Yeah. There you go.
That's good.
Because I've
Guys.
ridden motorcycles all my life. My rule for riding in Thailand is to wear a helmet and never exceed 40 kilometers per hour. Yeah, that's pretty much mine too. I always stay over to the left-hand side. Now I am guilty about not wearing a helmet if I'm in my neighborhood. But if I go outside of my neighborhood, I'm always wearing a helmet. And rarely do I, unless I'm out on an open highway. Uh, I don't say 40. I'm more like 60 or something like that. I usually stay around 60. But I stay over on, I don't ride out in the lanes. I ride in the left-hand side, and I just try to be aware of what's in front of me and pay attention because, it's a different world here from riding. It's not like riding in the States.
Mm-mm.
I'll be honest, when I travel to Pattaya, I am seldom sober, so I take moto taxi everywhere or the Bob. Yeah, that's a smart move. Have you heard of folks having a hard time adjusting to moving to Thailand in a foreign country? Any challenges you guys
Sure.
had even about going back to the States? That's a kind of,
There's a lot of people that do that. They come over here thinking it's going to be, purgatory for them, and they get here and it's not.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, like Charlie said, there's a lot of struggles you have to deal with when you get here to even function here in a daily life. And a lot of people come over here
yeah.
thinking, well, it's going to be blissful and utopian like and all that, and it's not.
Yeah, you have to be tolerant. If you're
Yeah.
not tolerant and you're not flexible and you're not willing to do things a little bit differently than what you're used to doing them do, then you're best off staying in your home country because uh, they have their own ways of doing things here, and they're not going to change. That's just the way it is. You're not going to change it. You're not going to understand it. You go with it, and that's the way it is. And if you can't
Hmm.
adjust to those types of things, then you're best off staying in your home country because you're not going to be happy here. Uh, Plain and
I was
simple.
having lunch at Bangsu Junction. It's an indoor shopping mall. It's right next to the famous Chatuchak Market here in
Hmm.
Bangkok, which is an outdoor market. And I was there with my friend Marcus, who is Irishman, and Marcus has been here about 15, 16 years. He's adapted well. And Marcus was a businessman. He was a pretty successful businessman back in Dublin, where he had a number of different retail businesses.
What did I do there?
And I don't know, but let me get back in a minute. Oh,
Whoa, 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 whoa. Man, I've messed everything up. Okay, here we are. We're back again.
so we're
Sorry
standing
about.
in this restaurant that we've been to before, and it's within this mall, and it's a reasonably fancy place. I mean, actually, the best vegetable pad thai I've ever had. The food is quite good, and it's kind of fancy with antiques and stuff. It's a really nice place. It's set up very nicely, and we're standing there waiting. You order your food at the counter, and then they deliver it to the table where you're seated. So we're standing at the counter by the checkout place, by the cash register, and there are three employees behind the counter a few steps away from us, and all three of them are gathered together discussing how to peel this piece of fruit. There's a piece of fruit that they would, and I guess the one woman is teaching the other two exactly how to peel. And we're standing, and I can see my friend Marcus's head turning red, and he's saying, I know I have to be patient. It's Thailand, and then unlikely. But his retail, training from back in the day when he owned businesses, it was like, this is just crazy to have three people peeling a piece of fruit while there are two cash-paying customers waiting to be served, and you're not even looking in their direction. It's like such poor management of a business like that, and it goes on everywhere. And that's what Bill is referring to. Here in Thailand, you have to smile and say, I'm in Thailand, and that's just the way it is. If you're in a hurry, move to New York. Everybody, they would have been fired before the fruit was finished in New York. It's like,
Oh, Lost in Australia. Thank you for the super thanks. I really appreciate that. Here's another question. Do you surrender your U.S.? No, you don't. You can keep your driver's license. I've still got mine. It's expired, but you don't have to surrender it. Is it safe to drink the tap water in Thailand? I'm gonna say
Not
no.
really. No.
Uh, we all have water bottle brought to the house now. I know some Thai people do, but um, I just don't feel comfortable doing it. We
You
have
have to run
water.
it through a filter at least. if you have a filtration system,
Yeah.
you could possibly drink it. We have one ourselves, and we use it for cooking and the dog's water, but brushing our teeth and stuff. But we don't actually drink it. But you could,
Yeah.
I guess, if you wanted.
I drink a little bit of the tap water here in Bangkok. Like Spencer just said, brushing my teeth, and then I take I take medicines in the morning. I usually drink tap water with that. But during the course, I make my coffee with bottled water, and usually we have bottled water here as well. And generally, we use that to drink. But I have an ironclad stomach. I'm the guy that eats street food in Mexico City, and it doesn't bother me. So it's I'm probably not a good person to ask.
Here's what he says. About 7 years in Chiang Mai, I have self-insured since being here, including an operation a few years ago at RAM. Just turned 70 and now lazily thinking about getting insurance. Yeah, it's good to have. I'll tell you, I'm finding that out. Here's another one. Do you have a Thai post office box? This person you are, I would be surprised if your subscribers send you cash and greeting cards. No, I don't have a Thai post office box. I appreciate that, but that's, being the nice person you are, I would not be surprised if your subscribers send you cash and greeting cards and gifts. Well, I appreciate that, and that's just the way it is. Oh, I used to puff pounds of pad thai in my pants and then dine and dash back in 2014. Shame on you. He's using your picture there. He's got Charlie there for some reason. I don't know what this guy's doing.
Wait, leave that up a second. I got to put my glasses on to see it. Somebody has a picture of me up.
Yeah.
I'm being copied. No, go back to that. Now that I got my glasses
Okay.
on, let's see it. I used to stuff pounds of pad thai in my pants, and then dine and dash in Bangkok back in 2014. You sound like you're more suited for Pattaya.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Or prison.
Hey, look at that! I'm being copied. I'm famous.
Oh, that's funny. What's your favorite way to do it? What's your favorite way to do a tie? I missed that one.
Yeah, that don't need to be answered either.
I learned the hard way 14 years ago when I first did it, not to drink the tap water. Yeah, you can get sick real easy, and I don't drink it. I just if I use it, if I have to use it for something, I'll boil it, and if we cook anything with it, we boil it before we use it. But I've never heard of anybody getting sick on it, but I have heard people getting sick on eating ice cubes. Some of the ice cubes are not done real good. In Thailand, did you ever indulge in the bar scene? I never did. I don't think any of the three of us ever have. None of us are really drinkers.
What was the question? In the bar scene, I've been to a few places downtown. I mean, I don't drink alcohol, but they serve Coke. They serve Diet Coke in bars too. I've taken people on what I call the walk of shame. Didn't I take you on that, Bill? Didn't we go on the walk of shame?
Yeah, you did.
And it's just, kind of all along the bar scene and inside Nana Plaza and then down Soy Cowboy. And I actually Bill didn't go into this last place that I'm about to tell you about. But at the end of the walk of shame, there's a place called Crazy House, and it's on Soy 23. And I don't know how to get away with it. They're still doing it. They survived the COVID thing, and they're still doing it. You walk in, the guy, Eric, the guy I was talking about before, who was my friend who initially invited me to Bangkok, and it was the Airbnb manager guy, right? He took me on the walk of shame. And we ended it walking into Crazy House. And Crazy House is a bar, and it's a neon sign that says Crazy House over it, but it's kind of a nondescript place. You might not even notice it with all the bright lights of Soy Cowboy nearby. And you go into the place, and it's a bar, and there are leather chairs and tabletops all around the perimeter. And in the center is a stage, not too big stage, with about 50 women on it, holding brass poles, maybe a half a dozen brass poles, and they're wearing high heels and lipstick. And kind of trying, and it's like stunning when you first see it. You walk in and it's like, what am I looking at? It's like, it's like, because their pubic region is at eye level, and it's like, it's like, it's like stunning. Now, of course, it's not a place you want to go and drink every night unless you're a millionaire. It wasn't cheap. And all of those girls were for rent as well. They had numbers on them. They managed to put a ribbon here or a number here, and you could order them by number. It was the most bizarre place I've ever seen. And so yeah, that's there's plenty of that stuff here, if that's what you're into. Pattaya, I'm told, there's more of it, but I don't like Pattaya. As a matter of just a personal thing. It's not my favorite place. But yeah, there's plenty of that in Bangkok if you want to. There's three main areas of the bars and go-go bars, and there's Soy Cowboy, which means Cowboy Street, and that the first cowboy bar was opened by an airman named E.G. Edwards, who was stationed at Karat at Camp Friendship in Karat. And when he got out of the Air Force, he opened a go-go bar in 1973. And he originally wanted to open in Patpong, which was post-World War II kind of red light district. But Patpong was so much in demand, the rents were too high. So he went over to this little lane, which didn't have a name on it. And there was one bar there. And he opened the second bar and called it the Cowboy Bar. E.G. Edwards was from Texas, and he liked wearing cowboy hats. And he introduced go-go bars to Thailand. And like any good business in Thailand, if it works and makes money, it will be copied instantly by many people. And this whole street of go-go bars grew up around it, and they named it after him, Soy Cowboy. So that's Soy Cowboy. So this Soy Cowboy is one place, Nana Plaza is another, and Patpong is still in out there throwing punches, I guess, in the competition for that kind of stuff. So you get plenty of that here in Bangkok.
What's that road that all the tourists go to over there? Khao Road?
Yeah, Khao Road has changed. They made it a lot. I went to Khao Road once, and the noise level was deafening. They had competing boombox music everywhere, and it was like a cacophony of sound that was really kind of funny. And that was more of a red light district pre-COVID, and I think it's changed. They redid it, they refurbished it. I haven't been over there recently, but from what I'm reading, it's more geared toward younger people, college age, and people in their 20s go there now. And I understand it's a much different feel to it. That it's more upscale and more about restaurants and there are bars there as well.
Because I know that used to be where all the ladyboy prostitutes used to hang out over there. Not from personal experience, but I know that.
I just saw a ladyboy in Bangsu Junction where I was talking about the restaurant that my friend Marcus was a little impatient with, and she I don't know, the ladyboy had an entourage around him, a bunch of people, and she was gorgeous. It was, but you could tell it, a little bit bigger and just had masculine features that you could pick out if you look closely enough. But it was, one of the most stunning looking women I've seen, dressed in a very provocative fashion as well, just shopping. And I'm like, wow, it's like, yeah, if that's interests you, ground zero, Bangkok is ground zero for that. I met a doctor in his 80s about 2 years ago who was a multimillionaire, and he was at the forefront of sex change operations back in the 60s. He at first did breast augmentation surgery, but he was also part of the team of people that developed whatever they do to complete the sex change operation. I don't even know what to call that, but a dickectomy, I guess we'll call it. And he was at the forefront of developing that. He's a very wealthy man, and from what I'm told, Thailand is like the place to go to do that. If you're interested in silicone boobs and a dickectomy, this is the place you want to go. So I'm told.
Well, there are some foreigners used to come over here to do that. I know that for a fact. Actually, there was a Chinese girl or lady boy that was recently in the news here in Chiang Mai. She had a rental car, and she went to return it, and the place was closed, and she had to
Right,
catch a
yeah.
flight. Remember that, Bill?
Yeah, yeah.
And so the police helped her out, but that was a lady boy from China.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's
Each
not a
their
big
own.
deal here. It's like, when I
No,
read,
it's very
when I'm on
acceptable.
Twitter reading, some of the contentious stuff around, sexual identity and all that, come here.
Well,
Nobody cares.
No.
no, it's
You
you
know,
know that's
just be nice.
Yes, that's the thing about Thailand that I have found. Everybody is accepted. Everybody's,
Hmm.
I mean, there's no, uh, there's to me, there's no stigma on anything that you want to be. You be what you want to be, and everybody, kind of goes along with it, and
Hmm.
that's really the way it should be, and that's one of the nice things about living here in Thailand is, there doesn't seem to be a race here. There doesn't seem to be anything like. I mean, everybody's kind of accepted,
And
and
they
that's
don't push their agenda here.
no, no,
If
no.
if they want to be a lady boy, then they become a lady boy and they just get on with
Right,
their life.
right, and
But they
everybody
don't
accept.
push for unisex bathrooms and all that.
Right, right. It's just everybody's accepted for what they are and who they are and what they believe
Hmm.
in, which is good. Yeah, here's a question: how is the wildlife over there? Uh, I don't, if you're talking about, I've never seen a tiger or anything like that. Maybe a few snakes and some lizards and stuff. But if that's what you're referring to, we don't really have. Um, I've never seen a wild elephant. Have you? Have any of you guys ever seen a wild elephant up here?
Just train ones.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
I've not seen them.
I'm still looking. I go to um, what's the name of the park? Uh, there's a park about a 2-hour drive north of Bangkok that has a herd of wild elephants in it. And I've gone up there a few times trying to get a picture, but I've yet to see one in the wild. But they are up there. I've seen pictures
Yeah.
and videos of them.
Mhm.
And if you're interested in that type of stuff, there are, national parks, I guess you would call them, around Thailand, and some of them are impressively populated with some species like tigers. There are, tigers that live in the wild here. There are elephants that live in the wild here. A lot of them. I learned in some of the reading that I've done is that tigers and elephants don't mix. Apparently, tigers are afraid of elephants. So
Hmm.
I'm told.
Interesting.
There's lots and lots of monkeys. I don't like them. They're nasty.
Yeah, the monkeys are bad.
Yeah. Now they had
But
monkeys
up,
down in Hua Hin.
Oh, yeah, they got. When I was down there flying my drone, and I parked the motorcycle, probably about 50 feet from where I was flying the drone, and I looked over, and my bike was covered with monkeys, and they were trying to tear into my drone case, and I had to run over there real quick and run them off. But yeah, they were nasty. Koyai National Park. Yeah, I've never. I don't
yeah,
think
that's
I've been there.
Cow Yai. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking of.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Crazy. Let's see what we got here. For people who want sex change, Canada, America have made it a billion-dollar business, even if you're a young 14-year-old. Damn, yeah, wow. Yeah, here it's a lot cheaper than that. I think. I don't think it's
Yeah.
that
And you
crazy.
can't do it at 14 here either.
Yeah, yeah. I do know that tigers are an awful threat in India. Is it the same?
Mm,
No, no. I've
no.
never heard of any tigers or tiger attacks or anything like that here
No.
that I can remember. Me and my buddy Johnny, we were in Thailand not too long ago. And we had a great time with females. Yeah, it's a great place. Boy, you're getting real popular, Charlie. Look at your picture over there.
It's probably the same guy. I don't wear a tie.
That's funny. Oh man, you're getting popular.
I'm going to be promoting an Instagram channel with a bunch of the models that I take pictures of. Well, one in particular, Sai Sai, who's my girlfriend's niece. She's 22 years old, and she's a veterinary student. She's going to become a veterinarian, working very hard. And so I just made a deal with her to do. As a matter of fact, today I'm going to do a photo shoot with her later on this afternoon to make short videos and still photography with this girl. And one of the things I'm thinking of doing is using their AI stuff to really change the way that they look. You can turn them into like, living anime type of thing. And while I don't want to do that on the channel, the YouTube channel that I have in place that I'm going to be doing this on, I might open another channel and just start doing AI stuff where, make them look completely like anime. I mean, their face, not the, I don't like those costumes, but, get that kind of, it's like amazing now. You can almost, do these artificial intelligence imagery in a way that it's hard to tell that it's not real.
Yeah.
So thank you for whoever this guy is that's doing that to me.
It's gone now. Well, guys, we've been on for over an hour and 10 minutes now. If anybody has any more questions, just put them up there and we'll get to them. If not, we're all three of us are going to move on to bigger and other things today. And I'm going to go ride my bicycle later on this afternoon after it cools off and try to keep my exercise going and all that. And let me see what we got here. Wish you all the best on Sunday. Thank you. Yeah, I go for my chemo tomorrow, and hopefully that'll work out. One of my cousins got 4 of his fingers ripped off by a rabid chimpanzee. No, the monkeys aren't. The monkeys are pesty over here. You have to really be careful. It just depends on where you're at. Like down in Hoi An, they'll bite you.
Yeah, they're aggressive.
Yeah, they're very aggressive. Now, these are not chimpanzees. I don't know what kind of monkeys they are, but you have to really, they'll take
Dirty,
your cameras
mangy
away, rip your glasses off, all kinds of stuff. It's best to just stay away from them.
Yeah.
But, well, listen, guys, appreciate everybody stopping in, and we'll announce the next one. I'm not sure when we'll have it. We'll either have it on Saturday or Sunday. Let's see, one more here. Yes, but not brutally violent. I hope you develop angry. Oh, yeah, that'd be bad. But anyway, appreciate everybody coming in, and we'll see you on the next one. Guys, we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.